A silver and red superhero who is out of this world, literally, and battles different monsters that present a Godzilla-level threat. That's what came out of the mind of Eiji Tsuburaya, the mastermind behind Ultraman, who also created Godzilla. Ultraman is your big friendly alien giant who is down to fight anyone who threatens to break the universal laws. Armed with his energy beams and strength, Ultraman is the savior our planet definitely deserves. In this video, join us as we take a deep dive into this classic hero who has stolen people's hearts since the show first aired in 1966. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Ultraman? What does he look like? Ultraman is from a planet far, far away from us. He is from a place called Land of Light, which is in Nebula M78. Definitely an alien, his reason of existence is to fight anyone who breaks the universal laws. Very strict about his morals, he advocates a strong sense of justice. He feels emotions just like that of a human, such as remorse. It was out of remorse that he merged his body with Shin Hayata when he accidentally ended up killing the human. Ultraman, while being an alien, has somewhat humanoid features. His bone structure is quite similar to that of a human. You can clearly see his almost human-like muscles while he moves. Ultraman, towering 40 meters in height, certainly looks like a big friendly giant. His face is obscured in silver that runs all over his body. This silver portion of his body is composed of Spacium, while the red areas we see around his eyes are organic. With big oval eyes, his face is almost fish-like. His eyes shine when he is full of energy, and similarly, when his energy is depleted, his eyes flicker and eventually turn off. Moreover, Ultraman is a color timer. There is this blue device located in the middle of his chest. Like a battery, it shows how energetic Ultraman is, which is helpful for us viewers to understand how strong his opponents are as the color timer flickers and eventually turns red when Ultraman faces formidable opponents or takes significant damage. A big reason why Ultraman's features can remind anyone of a fish is the presence of a dorsal fin. He has this dorsal fin along the length of his back, though the use of this dorsal fin is unknown. From which alien race does Ultraman belong? See, once upon a time, on a planet located in the Nebula M78, there were people like us. They prospered and made a lot of technological advancements, but they found out that their planet was dying. It was because their sun was losing its light. Wanting to stay alive, the whole race decided to come up with a solution. Putting all the brilliant minds together proved fruitful, as by the end of it, they had a fake sun. This artificial sun, called plasma spark, gave light to the planet. In the presence of the plasma spark, the planet thrived. Not only that, but due to the light, the residents of this planet gained several powers and eventually ended up becoming giants that we do not know as Ultras. The light of the plasma spark even reached planet L77, where it, too, turned the human-like residents into Ultras. Being an Ultra came with a lot of power. Understanding that these powers can help bring peace all over the universe, all the Ultras joined hands and formed the Intergalactic Defense Force. As a member of this force, the Ultras fought against all potential threats like Barbaru and Baltan. Ultraman is one of these Ultras. He is descended from the original M78 planet, the planet which generated the plasma spark. Does Ultraman have internal organs and bones? We know that Ultraman can change his shape and size and also merge his body with human hosts if there is any need. But that begs the question, what is the internal structure and anatomy of Ultraman like? To begin with, we know that Ultraman is a being that is made of light. That tells us that he is very keen on taking light from the sun because that is his main source of energy. We see that he has silver skin all over him. This silver skin, also known as Ultra armor, is made of solid Spacium. According to this solid Spacium, this armor helps make Ultraman very much resistant to heat and light. We see that his arms are red. That is because there are glands present on his arms that allow him to harness the special energy in his arms. His left hand emits Spacium energy minus beam, while his right hand emits Spacium energy plus beam, owing to the type of energy it harnesses. These are his external features. So what about his internal features? Internally, Ultraman is just like us humans. He has bones like us, specifically the spine, ribs, bones in his arms and legs, as well as the pelvis. Not only that, but if we look closely, we will see that Ultraman has toned muscles all over his body, which explains his physical fitness and some of his strengths. He has something known as a color timer. This timer works almost like the heart of Ultraman. If this heart runs out of time, Ultraman will fall and never rise again. Now let's focus on Ultraman's face. Ultraman does not have a typical humanoid skull. His skull is oval, and we see quite a few things poking out, such as his digital sonic organized ears and Space Navigate defector crest. Along with these two, his skull has also made space for the multi-presenting eyes. As far as his internal organs are concerned, he definitely has lungs, as we see in the pictures taken by Tsuburaya Productions. It turns out that the resident of Land of the Light is kind of like us in a few ways. How does Ultraman merge his body with Shin Hayata? Shin and Ultraman were not going to meet had everything gone the way they were supposed to go. But things took a turn. Bemula, a monster, had escaped the monster graveyard, and Ultraman was chasing him to capture him. While on his way to capture Bemula, Ultraman's ship is raised with Shin's jet. Shin was out on a scouting mission in his jet, absolutely not expecting a horrific rash that would lead to his death. Ultraman decided to share his life with Shin Hayata so that Shin could live again, and that is how Shin and Ultraman merged their bodies together. How does Shin Hayata transform into Ultraman? Shin Hayata is one of the Ultra hosts in the Ultraman series. For him to transform himself into the powerful Ultraman, he has to use something known as the Beta Capsule. Ultraman gave Shin this Beta Capsule when they first met, which allowed them to merge their bodies together. This Beta Capsule is a part of something known as the Beta System. The Beta System was designed to allow the users of the Beta System to turn themselves into their giant version. So, with a single click of this device, Hayata can easily go from a human like you and me to Ultraman. The transformation of Hayata into Ultraman includes Ultraman's red fist coming out of the earth and effectively dragging Hayata up with it until they reach Ultraman's height. Luckily for us, Hayata is not photosensitive because the transformation comes with a lot of red flashes. How does his color timer work? A very prominent feature in the Ultraman is his color timer. But what is it? The color timer is a timer that signifies how much energy Ultraman has left in him. Think of his color timer as that of a battery icon on our phones. When Ultraman is full of energy, the color timer is blue in color. As he takes damage and fights, the timer slowly starts flashing. With the energy depletion, the flashes become frequent, and then when Ultraman is drained, it turns red in color. But why is it so important? You see, as Ultraman is the resident of the Land of the Light, he needs solar energy to function. Sun is the main source of his energy. But as we all know, Earth's atmosphere acts as a filter to filter out the rays of the sun as well as other radiations like electromagnetic radiation, gamma rays, etc. This lack of sunlight while on Earth puts a limit on the amount of activity Ultraman can do while on Earth. He can function for 3 minutes in the Earth's atmosphere before he is forced to change into his human form. Ultraman can resist heat and atomic bomb explosions through his skin. We have often seen Ultraman be on the receiving end of several explosions and whatnot, but after each of these explosions, he always ends up coming out of it scot-free. Why is that the case? The reason is his skin. As a resident of the Land of Light, Ultraman's skin is made of Spacium. This skin acts as a shield, better known as Ultra Armor. His skin is resistant to heat and even laser beams. The silver parts of his armor are the area that does the most when it comes to protecting him against explosions. The silver part of his skin absorbs the heat and light from the explosions and uses them as a source of energy, which Ultraman later uses to power his moves. Ultraman can teleport from one planet to another. We all know that Ultras are beings that are scattered all over the universe, and there are Ultras on far planets. Because of that, teleportation is a skill that would do Ultraman well. Teleportation enables Ultraman to cover huge distances in a short span of time, whether it is over the globe or it is from one planet to another. In the first instance, we are introduced to teleportation, and we notice that teleportation drains a lot of energy from Ultraman. Ultraman functions by harnessing energy, and if teleportation drains most of his power, it would be hard for him to stand up against the threats to mankind. But later we see that Ultras such as as Ginga do not suffer the same fate after teleportation. In fact, Ginga has barely noticeable energy loss after teleportation. This has led a lot of fans to theorize that perhaps the massive energy drain is dependent on how much distance is being traveled and the experience of the user. Ultraman can change his size from human size to a giant. When you first see Ultraman, you will notice right off the bat that he is a giant. He is 40 meters in height to be exact. You would almost not expect a man of his stature to have such a high speed, but he does. Ultraman can travel at a speed of Mach 5. His strength is too much to be measured, but we can guesstimate that he can lift up to at least 200,000 tons with ease. But this is not the form that Ultraman takes when he is on Earth. You see, Ultraman has a mission to protect Earth from aliens and monsters from outer space. If he is always in his giant size, it would be difficult for him to protect the world. So instead, he can transform into a human. This size is something that Ultraman can change at his own will. As a human, Ultraman is a part of Science Patrol. It takes him 3 minutes to change from his normal human stature to his 131 feet height when Earth is facing imminent danger. Ultraman can create Ultrasign. But why? Ultrasign is a language that is made by the Ultras for the Ultras. We know that Ultras are a higher life form and are existing through different universes and planets. Now, there is not a single telephone company that covers intergalactic communication, so Ultras came up with their own language. In this coded language, the Ultras can send messages to each other about imminent dangers that they can foresee. Each of these Ultra signs bears the signature of sorts of the sender, allowing the recipient of the message to figure out who is sending it to them. Ultra signs can even have colors, making them easily distinguishable for the recipient. Now, Ultra sign is supposed to be an ultra-specific language, but over the years, we have witnessed a few monsters who can not only decipher the Ultra sign, but also make their fake Ultra sign as well. Tyrant could see the Ultra sign and even destroy them. On the other hand, Hippolyte and Barbaru made their fake Ultra signs. Can he transfer his energy? Ultraman became Ultraman by harnessing the power of the plasma spark. Once the plasma spark took place, Ultraman ascended to this higher level of being with a huge source of power at his hand. So we can say clearly that Ultraman works by harnessing and storing energy. Looking at all his attack moves, we can see that the same energy that he uses to sustain himself is also the one he uses to take down enemies, which is why when Ultraman does not have enough power, he needs power from somewhere else. This is where Ultra Charge comes into play. Ultra Charge is a special ability that Ultras have to share their energy with another Ultra, whether to re-energize them or to give their energy-focused attacks a little more power. Ultra Charge basically transfers one Ultra's energy with another. He can project many types of energy beams. One of the biggest weapons that Ultraman uses in combat is his energy beams. He has a full arsenal of energy beams and he is not afraid of using them. Some of the notable ones are Spacium beam, Spacium Kosen. This is Ultraman's finishing move. In order to activate this beam, he makes a plus sign with his hands. His right hand, which remains vertical, is the one from where the beam emanates. This beam is so powerful it can knock down aliens with one single hit. This beam is only formed when two of his arms deal with opposite special energies. Harnessing the negative Spacium energy in his right hand and the positive Spacium energy in his left hand, the Ultraman fired the Spacium beam. This beam is extremely hot, measuring more than 500,000 Celsius in temperature. That is 900,0032 degrees Fahrenheit. And it has a huge destructive ability, almost close to 500,000 horsepower. This beam has subtypes, such as the Marine Spacium beam and the Ultra Spacium beam. The Marine Spacium beam is a colorful version of the Spacium beam that Ultraman produces when he is hit with ID's stamina booster. The Ultra Spacium beam, on the other hand, is the Spacium beam type we get to see in Ultraman fighting Evolution Rebirth. It is a stronger version of the Spacium beam, and an even stronger version can be produced when Ultraman harnesses the power of the plasma spark. Ultra Attack Beam, Urotora Ataku Kosen. This is one of the most common attacking beams that Ultraman uses. He holds out his right hand with his fist closed. On doing so, the energy of his whole body gets focused into his right arm and then shoots out from the closed fist as rings that are bright green in color. But that is not all. Once he is done using the beam, Ultraman can cross his arms in an X, and the moment he does so, he can time an explosion. Ultra Slash, Urotora Surashu. In Ultraman's arsenal of beams, this is a beam that takes the shape of a circular blade, almost like a buzzsaw. Activating this energy beam by manifesting it, Ultraman can throw one or two of them at his foe to have a clean slice through their body. Ultraman can telekinetically control objects and the beams. Telekinesis is a power that allows Ultraman to control and lift objects using just his mind. This has never been something that is common in all Ultras because we do get to see that not a lot of Ultras can do that. When it comes to Ultraman, he has Ultra Willpower, Urotora Nenriki, which helps him control objects with his will. In the Ultraman universe, we do get to see other species showing telekinesis. Telekinesis is not a power that is only specific to the Ultra race. Can he reproduce? In the Ultraman universe, we have seen several children running around. Seeing children running around in this universe has led to several Ultraman fans speculating how the Ultraman will reproduce. As we know that when the plasma spark happened, the human counterparts of the Ultraman ascended into this Ultraman status. And while this has given them powers, we also notice a distinct lack of human reproductive organs on the Ultraman. If there are no organs for the Ultraman to reproduce with, how do they reproduce? There are quite a few theories that are popular when it comes to that. The most popular one is genetic modification. What we mean by that is we already know that the Ultraman is far more technologically and genetically advanced than we humans. So perhaps what can happen is the DNA of an Ultraman and Ultra Woman are isolated and put in a test tube or a controlled system where these two sets of DNA fuse to give us a child. This seems highly plausible with how far our technology has advanced over the last few decades. Another one is in vitro fertilization. In the case of in vitro fertilization, the lack of genitals would not matter. The assumption is that Ultra Woman has eggs and it can be fertilized with some medical help by Ultraman to produce a child. Last but not least is the theory that Ultraman is asexual, which means that instead of taking part in sexual reproduction, maybe Ultraman reproduces asexually, where the need for another set of DNA is not mandatory. They self-fertilize the gametes and a new Ultra child is born. Marvelous verdict. Ultraman has been a fan favorite for several people as it has been airing for a good few decades. Ultraman instilled a sense of justice and righteousness in a lot of us when we were kids. And we are grateful to IG Suburaya for creating such a cult classic. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.